I'm just going to try and clean off as much dust and debris on these. I'll just go quickly over with a little brush. The next step is just going to use a little tack cloth here, just to. This is basically sticky with a resin, and it's just going to collect any of the sawdust particles that still might be on the board. And it is doing a fantastic job of actually taking up pieces of the plywood. High quality stuff we got here. Let's see that. Let's see, it already picked up some dust there. So, got that. So what we're going to be doing here is using, as I said before, I'm going to be laminating this with epoxy. And truth be told, I've never used this product before, but it's a two-part epoxy, and we're going to do mix up a batch, and we're just going to wet out the board. So just an unthickened layer of just straight up epoxy, and then add some filler to it to thicken it, and then use that to actually laminate. So we're going to thicken it to about a consistency of a ketchup basically, and then put that on the board and then laminate them together. The reason why I go with a wet out layer of just unthickened epoxy is because the boards will absorb this. So it's just so that we don't have any glue starved joints is the idea. So I'm going to put on a mask for the fumes, mix up the epoxy, and get to work. So what we'll do, as I said before, be a wet out layer followed by a thickened layer, spread that out, put the boards on, clamping them to the trailer. I'm going to use the trailer frame here as a nice straight edge, so that that's where we're gonna use that. Got it. Why not? I've got the green tape here just in case any epoxy squeezes out from the glue up. It's not going to glue the boards to the trailer, I hope. Anyway, so put on a mask and get started here. Alright, so this has been curing now for approximately 18 hours. So the glue around the sides and on the floor seems pretty solid, so I think we can take the clamps off. The hope is that I have two boards, each 1.5 inches by 3.5 inches. But the way that the glue is coming out there and trying to clean it up, I highly suspect I have a board that is now 3 inches by 3.5 inches. But you know, we'll see. So I'm going to go ahead, pop off the clamps, and see what we have. All right, moment of truth. Oh. All right, definitely glued to the tape. Grab a knife. All right, and definitely glued to each other. All right, so you can see a lot more spilt out. So what I'm going to try doing is grabbing a hand scraper and scrape that down. Hopefully that'll be enough just to get rid of the little glue here that's going to be holding these two together. We'll pop them apart. So put this one aside for now. We'll clean up this mess and get ready for another batch of another batch here to laminate together. Hopefully not laminate all of them together like this one. Yeah, so anyways, I'm going to try going a little less adhesive on the next batch, and hopefully it won't be as messy here. So go ahead and get this cleaned up. If you're watching these videos thinking that this is going to be a professional that you're going to learn from, obviously this ain't it. Alright, that takes most of that off. 2 lessons here. Make sure you you're using epoxy. Cover everything. Just cover everything. And 2, don't use painter's tape for this idea. Not really sure what I was thinking. I kind of thought that was going to work, but so we're going to use plastic. We're going to wrap everything in plastic this time. And I'll try that. Because, yeah, scraping this off of anything is not fun. Okay. So like last time, I'm going to go ahead, clean these, run them over with run a tack cloth over a tack cloth to pick up any of the loose debris. The last time I used a brush to try and do a wet out layer, but being the temperature in the garage here, it's a little cold and it was pretty thick. So what I'm going to do this time is just try and spread it out using an old glue spreader, which is I'm actually going to use an old Metro Pass. Basically trying to see if I can spread that out thin. Do the epoxy. Last time I was spreading it out with a 1/8 inch V-notch trowel. I'm going to, I just 3D printed these. There's the 1/8 there. There's a 3/32 and a 1/16. So I'm going to try the 3/32, see if that actually reduces the amount of glue, which it will, but see if that is enough so that just a bit of glue squeezes out between the joints and we don't have that bloody mess that we had last time. So right, I'm going to crank up the tunes, put on some PPE, and see if we can get these boards all laminated. All right, here we go. Excuse me here, after that, just gotta hydrate a little bit here. All right. Went a little bit thicker than I did last time with the epoxy. I think I should have stuck with a little with. I think it went a little too thick, but not crucial. Definitely use a lot less epoxy this time, using the scraper to actually put the wet out layer on, and then using the 3/32 notch. I'm gonna grab the camera here and just bring in a little bit closer. You see, this time the glue is just squeezing out a little bit there. Some of the joints maybe not squeezing as much as I would like. So I don't know if they're maybe a little glue starved, or maybe they're just right. So take you over here. I don't know if you can see that on the camera, but just like here, squeezing out just a little bit there. So yeah, I think I need maybe just a little bit more glue. So we'll see, let that cure, and go from there. I mean, there's not is what it is now, so let that cure overnight. Is it going to be strong enough? Yes. This isn't a boat, this is just going to be a frame. Even at half the strength is way more than what I need here. Alright, so it has been let's call this approximately 18 hours, 20 hours, something like that, since these pieces here have been curing. Given it a little bit extra time to cure. It got pretty cold last night in the shop here. It's not heated, so I am limited by the outdoor weather. So anyways, it's been curing. As you remember, we went a little less glue and changed it up a little bit. So let's pop off the clamps. Let's see what we have here. All right, moment of truth. Well, not stuck to the trailer frame. That's a good sign. They are still stuck to each other though. Lovely. Oh, all right. So hindsight, should have put something in between the layers. I did not realize that there was that much glue that still got between the boards that weren't supposed to be glued together. Originally I was going to go with plastic in between, but I was afraid that I wouldn't be able to see if the boards had, shifted and moved around a little bit. So I think that's really when I have to start doing it. I'm just going to be wasting a lot of time just trying to get these boards separated. But alright, well, always onwards and upwards. The other thing I kind of thought about the other night, last night, is that with this particular plywood, not saying with all plywoods, but I think with this plywood, it's so splintery. I don't think I'm actually getting the... I'm afraid that actually using epoxy to laminate these boards, I'm not really getting the benefit of the strength. I think I can actually get away with just using a waterproof construction adhesive, or sorry, a waterproof construction glue, or carpenter's glue, I should say, sorry. And so I think I'm going to actually just switch and start using that. It's a lot cheaper, and it's a lot easier to use. And I don't really think as I said, I don't think there's really a lot of benefits for me right now to use the epoxy in the lamination. Definitely wouldn't anything that I'm, like anything that's going to be end grain, I'm definitely going to use epoxy on that. But for these laminations, I think I'm just going to use that glue. So, disadvantage is that it needs to be warmer temperature to cure. So I think what I'll do is I'm going to move all these boards into the basement, repurpose the workout room, because let's be honest, right now it's probably the least used room of the house. I'll just start laminating the boards in the basement, but the advantage of that now is it frees up the frame and some space here in the garage, so that I can actually start working on the floor while these boards are curing downstairs. So allows me to spread out a little bit. So I guess the next step is to take all this board that's waiting to be laminated, move it down in the basement, and clear space down there to work. So let's get going on that. Just real quickly, I've been just trying this here. Seem to be able to, it's not just a couple spots, must have had some epoxy on my hands when I was putting the boards together. So just using putty knife, just going in between the boards, finding a spot, and then just using a thin little pry bar just right behind it, just to keep the kind of keep the pressure off this thing here. But it does seem to be working. Do seem to be making a little bit of progress. But I don't know if you can see from here, some of these plywood, the layers here are actually coming apart. So yeah, that kind of proves the point that the epoxy is actually stronger than the layers that I'm laminating. So that's confidence inspiring. Pandemic builds, right? You get what you get. I would actually, if you're doing this yourself, marine grade plywood, that's what you want to get. It has a waterproof glue between the layers, and it also has no voids, where you can see that's a hole in one of the layers. There's no one there. Marine grade doesn't have that. So that's originally what I wanted, but I could not find any marine grade plywood right now. So it is what it is. Learn from my mistakes. There you go, success. That one actually was pretty good, but you can see here. Yeah, that took. Yeah, so awesome. But anyways, that's a lot better than the first mess we made. It's still sitting there waiting for me to do something with that. That's going to be super exciting. But yeah, that came apart, so cool. All right, well, let's get all this stuff back into the basement, as I said. Well, at least it's warmer in here. So I guess we'll just continue on laminating these boards together here in the basement. And once we get this whole pile of wood done, then we can take it back to the garage and start lopping it to length and assemble some sort of frame. Yes, thanks for watching.